Next up, we have our first panel of the day, ICorps and Hubs, how NSF ICorps Hubs facilitate innovation across the nation, sponsored by North Carolina State University. It is my pleasure to introduce to you, I'll let you in on a little secret, tip of the spear for next year's annual meeting and the moderator of the Hubs panel, an honorary NAI member, Wade Fulghum. Wade is the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Research Commercialization at North Carolina State University. It's my pleasure. Please help me to welcome Wade to the stage.
Everybody, mic's working. So as Elizabeth said, I'm Wade Fulghum from NC State University. Wear a couple hats there. In addition to running the Research Commercialization Office, we've also launched an Angel Alumni Network we call the Wolfpack Investor Network, and then I also serve as the PI for our Mid-Atlantic Hub for ICorps. So with that, let me introduce two outstanding dynamic leaders who have been transformative and have made real impacts with the National Science Foundation ICorps program. First, let me welcome to the stage Charleson Bell. Charleson is the Director of Entrepreneurship and Biomedical Innovation. He's also the lead for the Mid-South ICorps Hub, and he's here representing Vanderbilt University. Charleson, thanks, man. And next, let me introduce Pamela McCauley. Pamela is Associate Dean for Academic Programs, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at NC State University. So what we thought we'd do to kick off the first panel of the conference is our team at NC State put together a short video with the help of Dr. McCauley, who you'll see in the video in a minute. It's about a 3-minute video that goes over what is the impact of National Science Foundation ICorps. So with that, let's...
Innovation at its core is stepping outside the known and being open to ideas that challenge, excite, and ignite. Ideas that impact us, our communities, and global society. A single spark, an idea can be the kindling of a flame that can change the world if given the care, tools, and attention to grow. The United States is a nation that acts as the vanguard of impactful innovation. The broad and rich diversity of talent across this nation's research and innovation space represents a significant national strength and global competitive advantage. The National Science Foundation is inspiring the missing millions of talented people who have not been given the chance to express themselves at their fullest capacity across a broad socioeconomic and socio-demographic range, tapping into the nation's rich geographical diversity to propel us all forward. Our society is quickly changing, developing faster than anyone thought possible, and the abundant needs of our global community are going unmet. Incredible innovators across the nation are taking steps to create and develop disruptive technologies that are going to not only meet but surpass those needs. NSF seeks to solve global problems through bringing together complementary mutual inspirations and nurturing these collaborations to strengthen our nation's innovative capacity through exploratory and translational research. This focus will promote the progress of science, advance national health and prosperity, and secure the national defense. And there is true bipartisan support for this vision of strengthening access to substantive innovation opportunities at speed and scale. The National Science Foundation's Innovation Corps, or ICorps program, was founded in 2011 and gives innovators the opportunity to put attention and care into igniting their spark into a blaze, providing critical tools to the development of new technologies and solutions. ICorps has spread to other federal agencies with NIH, DoD, NASA, and DOE all incorporating ICorps into their programming. With ICorps, researchers are able to delve deep into understanding potential customer needs and wants for solutions they're developing, how their technology can be more useful, and how to make it the best possible solution for their market. Participating in ICorps can lead to the creation of a new company, pursuit of startup funding, and the development of new products that can benefit our global society as a whole. Since its launch in 2011, more than 1,000 startups have been launched because of ICorps, and these startups have cumulatively raised over $760 million in subsequent funding. All it takes is one spark, one idea to create local, national, and global change that lasts for generations. The possibilities are limitless with innovation as a fuel to get us to tomorrow and beyond.
So I'll go ahead and kick off the panel with some discussions here. So maybe a first question for Pamela. Fantastic job on the video.
Thank you. I felt weird clapping for myself, but I was really clapping for ICorps.
It's all good. So it sounds like the ICorps experience, despite any road bumps or maybe misfires or, over the years, has had a real impact on the research culture of the United States. Maybe we could start with just maybe a personal impact story from your experience.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks so much for inviting me to be here. I'm delighted to be a part of this panel. I sometimes feel like I'm Miss ICorps because I have experienced it in so many ways. I was on the faculty at UCF for 27 years and have also been an entrepreneur and innovator for years. And when I learned about the ICorps program, it was through an ICorps site grant that I got when UCF had a site. And so I actually experienced the impact of what customer discovery does. And it was so powerful, I started introducing that into my teaching. So not only does ICorps help with innovation, it really helps you to understand how to create and innovate in an impactful way. And so, I think it's so powerful. And then, of course, I was such a fan of ICorps, I became the NSF program director for 2.5 years. And so and then wanted very much to see this technology or tool in more hands. And so I was adamant about seeing it grow and get in more diverse communities. And so the ICorps panel, I've seen so much growth from the time when I first learned about ICorps, and then understanding the impact that it has, and then actually seeing the companies since we did this video. Again, there have been over 1,000 companies that have been launched as a result of ICorps, and over like $3 billion in follow-on funding, and those are very conservative numbers. So it works. This is something that really works, and brilliant scientists and engineers and innovators come up with great ideas. A lot of times we do these things, but nobody uses them. So ICorps takes that away, removes that risk, because you're doing customer discovery so that you know what you are developing really does have impact.
Fantastic. And Charleson, maybe from your perspective, maybe the impact of ICorps.
Yeah. So I have a mic check. Okay, make sure. I'm a DJ, so I always got to do the mic check. So the first thing is maybe I'll start with a personal story, and I'll talk with an ICorps story. So I have a very unique background. So I'm actually the first graduate student in Vanderbilt history to raise venture capital for a startup. And so that was 13 years ago. And yeah, and that hit. So it was 13 years ago. And Vanderbilt was not known to be entrepreneur friendly at the time. It was almost like, if you try to start your own company, you need to go do it over there, because that's not what we do here. Things have changed. But because of that, I had to leave campus. I went to Memphis to launch the business, build a laboratory, and then I found myself in Silicon Valley. I was there for almost a year and really felt what an innovation ecosystem was, but also felt the challenges of trying to do entrepreneurship without guidance, like mentorship. And so when I came back, right, after all of the failings and the pain and the anguish of that entrepreneurship can bring, I came back to Vanderbilt and participated in the Wondery programs, and the Wondery is our Vanderbilt's Innovation and Design Center, Wonder and Foundry together. That's the Wondery. And that's when I first got introduced to ICorps. And that completely changed my entire perspective here, me having years of entrepreneurship behind, like in my history, and actually lived through it. Now I'm going through this program that if I had just gone through that program to start with, a lot of that pain would have been averted. And so just through the customer discovery, getting the evidence to make the decisions, having that evidence now transform my just research ideas into use-inspired research changed a lot. So then, I actually joined the Wondery team, and we, the year before I got there, we got a site, a ICorps site. And then the pandemic hit. And we had to rapidly move all of our programming from in-person to virtual. And then Dina Metter, who is the deputy director of the Wondery, she was the director of entrepreneurship then, she sent me a Slack message and said, hey, can you jump on the Zoom real quick? And I'm like, yes, please, I need to talk to someone. I'm tired of sitting on my couch by myself. So I answered the Zoom call, and she said, hey, now that we have all of our programs virtual, why don't we offer it to the HBCUs that are right across town and down the street? Why don't we open up our programs to other schools like community colleges? What about vocational schools? What about the state schools that don't have access to these programs? And so we started to invite people from all over the region to come into the programs, and I think that was the launching point when we saw teams from HBCUs go through our programs and then launch their businesses and win awards. That sort of creating that sense of belonging and inclusiveness with success and transforming just ideas and technology into innovations that actually help people. I think that's what allowed us to elevate from a site to a ICorps hub.
And that just warms my heart to hear the level of diversity that ICorps now has, because when I joined NSF as a program director, that was one of the major responsibilities I had, to enhance the diversity. And so it's outstanding to see that level of diversity now. But I'm really glad, Charleson, you said as a seasoned entrepreneur, you still saw the value in ICorps. And I completely agree. And I think a lot of times people who aren't familiar with ICorps, they think if I'm a seasoned entrepreneur or innovator, I don't really need something like that. And I always encourage them to reconsider that, because the industrial engineer in me is always seeking efficiency. And using the customer discovery approach really does streamline the process to understanding just how impactful and where the greatest impact will be for your ideas and your innovations. I'm sorry, Wade, I just had to jump on that.
No, that's fantastic.
No, we trying to carry the banner of what you started, so that's what we're doing.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it. I'm so excited to see this.
So maybe a question for you, Pamela, following up on that. So ICorps launched in 2011. Your first experience with a site at UCF, your first experience was at a site at Vanderbilt. NC State actually applied, we applied for a node 2 times, a site maybe 2 times. We lost all 4 times. And finally, in 2017, we won our first site. But can you talk about the thinking that went into NSF's move from sites and nodes to this hub model?
Sure. Well, as you said, we previously had the site model where there were 99 sites all over the country, and that was what I managed. And then we had the nodes, which were a larger collection of universities working together. But then we recognized that that really wasn't sustainable from a management standpoint. And we wanted to, when I was at NSF as a program director, we wanted to put more autonomy in the hands of the actual folks who were doing the, leading the, like the PIs and the universities, and not make it so much work on the program director in terms of management. And so we came up with the hub model. But, and I have to admit, I was initially concerned, but I am so pleased to see how well the hub model is going. And the way the hubs work, they have more autonomy, so they can, in fact, I was looking at the site just over the weekend, so they have an opportunity to bring more participants in and at different levels. And so I always, anytime I go to a university and I talk to people and I talk about innovation a lot, I say, if you don't have an ICorps hub that you're a part of, reach out to them. And so you don't have to, it's not necessarily geographically limiting, but the ICorps hub model was designed to be that backbone of innovation for the National Innovation Network and to be the centerpiece of the innovation ecosystem in the community. And they have done an amazing job of that. And I will say this about the pandemic. With ICorps, we used to say, everyone had to come in person and you couldn't call in, or we couldn't do anything virtual, it just won't work. Well, the pandemic showed us it would. And so I am hopeful that the good things that happened in the pandemic in terms of getting access to these innovation and entrepreneurial resources will remain. But again, the thinking for the hub model was for this to be a easily accessible backbone of the innovation ecosystem in communities, and having that all over the country. So there are hubs throughout the country. So there should be nowhere in these United States of America that a person wants to connect with ICorps and they cannot. So you can, and again, you can go to the NSF website. You can email me, even though I'm not there. But I strongly, strongly encourage people to connect with their ICorps hub, because again, I think it really streamlines your innovation process, and it increases the likelihood that you're going to get funding. We saw that folks that went through ICorps actually had twice the likelihood of winning SBIR awards, greatly enhanced the likelihood for attracting external funding because their ideas had been evaluated. And oftentimes during the customer discovery process, they ended up with collaborators or partners that they ultimately work with to develop their concepts. So that's a long-winded answer to say that the new model really was designed to give more people access and to give more autonomy to the folks that are running the ICorps sites in terms of engaging folks and bringing more folks in, like community colleges, HBCUs, and the like.
Thank you, Pamela. And maybe Charleson, as a follow-up, you transitioned from a site to a hub as NC State did. What was that experience like, and kind of what was your motivation?
Yeah. So everything you just said is right on point, and that's how we saw that tremendous value of ICorps, but then we also saw something that we could use ICorps to take even the next step. And so the idea is, can we use the ICorps program, the hub model, the National Innovation Network, basically all the hubs networked across the nation together, can we leverage that to foster cross-sector collaborations and impart shared prosperity across the region? Can we do that? Can we gather the intellectual talent? Like, I'm looking around this room and I'm like, this is the intellectual talent that's going to change the future, right? Can we bring in the intellectual talent, give you all the process, like the pathway, the continuum, to take these transformative ideas and technologies that you have and transform them into solutions that solve problems, end people's suffering, and stimulates the economy, creates jobs? Can we do that? And so that's what we've been doing with our hub. That was one of the principal parts. That was one initial part. How do we bring people together, give them the tools and the knowledge, and how do we end the suffering of those in our community and create opportunity for shared prosperity? Can we use ICorps as a vehicle? And over the past 5 months, we've been showing that has been very impactful. But then the second thing is, can we use ICorps as a vehicle to really, really, really push and foster inclusive innovation? So we define inclusive innovation as diversity, equity, and inclusion, in action, We talk about DEIA, and we talk about it a lot of times in, number of participants involved. We look at statistics, but inclusive innovation is all of that actually taking part in action. Inclusive innovation is innovation optimized. Even if you look across this room, there are so many different people from so many different backgrounds and expertise. And when you bring people like that together, you're able to better empathize about a problem, which is the first step in the design thinking, innovation strategy. But also, you get to solve problems in the best way possible because you've got the experts and you've got the lived experience all around the idea. And so we've been using the hub as a place to create an environment where anyone from any background, doesn't matter your creed, status, as long as you're here to create positive value change, which is the definition of innovation, positive value change. As long as you want to do that, you can come to our region and our hub and participate in the things that we do to end the suffering of others.
And a lot of times when people say, well, what does diversity have to do with innovation? I get that question a lot. If I'm an innovator, and I am, or an inventor, or going to be developing products, I want as many people as possible to be able to utilize my product. I want to sell as many of my product as possible to as diverse an audience. So diversity and innovation is critically important as we look at developing products that more people will find value in, that will address those needs. So again, I was delighted to see the panel and also a lot of the conversation taking place here, because diversity is smart in innovation. The more diverse your solutions are, the more diverse your teams are in creating these solutions, the more impactful they are, and translation, likely the more profitable. So it's really important, I think, that we as engineers and scientists and innovators and entrepreneurs, that we understand why diversity is important in innovation.
Excellent answer. Yeah, I would just echo that I think diversity is the secret weapon that the United States possesses, and it's almost impossible to copy.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's so many problems that we need to solve. When I spent a year at the Department of State as a Jefferson Science Fellow, and that was very powerful, because I don't think any of our solutions need to just be for us. You know, we've got the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We have problems all over this world, and we truly are a global society today. So anytime we're coming up with a solution for something, we need to be thinking globally about who can this most positively impact or most significantly impact. You know, what are the pains it's going to address? What are the gains that it's going to produce? And so I'm this is my first NAI meeting, but I am just so pleased and impressed and delighted to see the conversation and the topics that you all are covering.
I also think the impact can be multi-level too. And so we've touched on different aspects of the impact. You know, one of the things when we were talking about inclusivity, it is key. If you take a step back and look at the economy and where we are at a very unique moment in history where we're realizing that we have not maximized our economic capacity because we don't have full participation of everyone in our innovation ecosystems and our innovation economy. And so that's why it's important. If you really want the United States to be competitive, we need everybody contributing to the economy in a tangible way. So you've got that high level thing where everyone's pretty much united. This is kind of what we want to do. Then you've got that kind of mid-level, which is your local or regional economy, where you live, right? You want your community to be prosperous. You want that shared prosperity for everyone. That's the sort of environment that you want to live in, because that's the optimal place that we all seek to go. But then there's also this base level, and this base level is just personal dignity, right? Can we give people opportunity to achieve that personal dignity when they realize that the things that they do every day are contributing to something bigger, are contributing to something greater, or having an impact? And I think there are many people that don't have the opportunity to be able to participate in the things that we do and achieve that personal dignity. And I think, you know, with the ICorps program, with the Hub program, with the new movement towards building these new ecosystems, we are at a unique time and moment in history where the things that all of us are doing in this room impact all three of those levels at the same time. So I think we're at a very unique time and a very unique moment where we can all participate to make this place better.
No, very well said. And I do think that so often people who are in this room and folks, those of us who do have access to so many of these resources, we don't realize how many people don't. And we need to be opening those doors, introducing folks to innovation. If I go to a church, I talk about innovation. I talk about ICorps. I mean, you all are the fellows and the senior members, and so you have credibility. And so I would encourage us to more broadly talk about these innovation and entrepreneurial resources, because I'm shocked, especially in the information age, at the number of people who don't know about these resources. And people will have great ideas and say, well, you know, how can I, what resources are available for this? And people a lot of times just don't know. But again, hopefully a lot of that is changing, because we have too many problems to solve to be sitting back being elitist and not opening the doors and welcoming everyone in to address these problems.
And I think another thing to add to that is to realize that sometimes it seems like there are things that are out of reach, even for everyone in this room. So you watch TV and you're looking at the big time entrepreneurs and doing that and that, and you're like, look, man, I'm just trying to do my research, get my stuff done, get my patents. But you are closer than you think. you are closer than you think. If you've got the capability to use the scientific method, I was just listening to some of the conversations last night. If you have the capability to use the scientific method to create the technologies of the future, you too have the ability to use that same scientific method for business, and then attract those with the business minds around you to bring those technologies into the fold, into the market where they're creating that sort of positive impact, from a society perspective and from a financially sustainable perspective. And that's why I really love this ICorps program, because that's something that we train, that's something that we work on from day one, from the regional program to the national program. And then, like you stated in the video stated, it sets you up very well to get those SBIRs, those STTRs. Yes. When you're talking to the venture capitalists, and they're like, "What's this researcher coming to talk to me about?" And then they hear you saying things about value propositions and your cost structures. Then they're like, "Wait a minute, this is the real deal." And so that's the sort of things that we try to impart to people like you. The future of what we hope to create and experience.
Awesome.
All right, and. Our panel is going to take the lead in trying to get us back on time for the conference. Mm-hmm. So with that, we have about 2-3 minutes for questions, if there's any questions from the audience. How many people have participated in an ICorps? With a show of hands.
Oh, I love it. See, y'all know what we're talking about.
That was wonderful to hear. This is the first time I'm hearing about the NSF's ICorps and the hubs and so on. And unlike several of these people, this is my first time at the NAI meeting. I'm Sarah Sukumar from Johns Hopkins, and I was very impressed with what you had to say. Indeed, we don't know about it, yes? And so this was a very important way of letting me know and for me to go and talk about it at Hopkins, which is a hub of practically every subject and innovation in every subject. So one of the questions I had is, do you back up these people with some money at the beginning?
Yeah, good question.
Ultimately, it comes down to that.
Absolutely. Well, I'll let you talk about your hubs model, how you all,
Sure.
But yes, it comes with money. Money's good. Okay.
So what we've done is we've kind of developed this continuum of entrepreneurial supports. I'm sure many of you have heard about the Startup Valley of Death. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to develop a university-fostered model to build a bridge over the Startup Valley of Death, especially for those faculty members, those graduate students, those postdocs, university-affiliated innovators that are trying to bring their technologies into the market. So just keep that in mind. We're building a continuum, right, of entrepreneurial supports to build a bridge over the Startup Valley of Death. And at every single one of those program points, from beginning with our regional program, at the end of the regional program, we actually offer microgrants, right? And so part of those microgrants can be used for some translational prototyping, and the other part of the microgrants is specifically used for customer discovery, because everyone tries to go do the end around and not do the customer discovery, but learn it from me, the entrepreneur who was out there for 2 years, who didn't do customer discovery and suffered. I can save you from that. Right. Go through the program, do the customer discovery, gain the evidence, and then make your research and translational prototyping decisions based off of what you learn from the customer, because they tell you exactly what you need to build. It's actually quite astounding how straightforward it is. So.
And Charleson, is that funding that's when you say for customer discovery, that's for them to travel
for them to travel, meet people, meet as many people as possible. And so we have a small micro grant. And then when you go to the national program, right? And so if you're a faculty member, you've been doing research, you go through the regional program, then you can go directly into the national program, which is $50,000 grant. Again, when I was an entrepreneur and I wanted to get money from someone, they forced me to give something up. NSF is giving this to you for free at no cost. All of this is no cost. So $50,000 grant, again, to participate in a 7-week national program. You get training and instruction from the best nationally certified instructors, as in all the agencies are pulling from this instructor pool. And then you also use that $50,000 that can go towards stipends for your graduate students or postdocs. So if you have them on research grants, you can do some sharing on the project to take some of their effort and put it on this ICorps grant. It also provides $5,000 for prototyping once you finish the program. And so there's a lot of things that you can do with this money that you get up front, and then the evidence that you get from the program, you put that into your SBIR application.
That's right.
And then when the reviewers read it, they're like, wait, this person has the key facts and the elements to truly commercialize a product. And that's what sets you up for the SBIR phase 1 and phase 2.
So I just wanted to mention that I sponsor several students. Our Cancer Center sponsors several students from the HBCU colleges.
Perfect.
Come in and spend the summer and do hands-on research work. So I want to spread the word there too.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's the deal.
Please do.
Yes, thank you so much.
Fantastic. And so I think we're at time. I think we're 2 minutes over, but we saved a lot of time.
That's what we do, get back on track.
ICorps efficiency, yes.
There you go.
So with that, let's see. Let's see if Elizabeth is, yeah.
Why, yes. Please help me in thanking Wade and his wonderful panel.